Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Vortex discussion. And today I want to talk to you guys about why the developments that we've seen in the love life of Boruto, the Riz God himself, where we have Class Rep once again confessing her love for Boruto, and Sarada potentially coming to a realization that she has feelings for Boruto. The discourse that I've seen in regards to this being a love triangle and it hurting the story, they have continued to heat up. With some of the takes I agree with, and others I don't agree with at all. And even though I see the logic and the reason behind them, I strongly disagree with some of them. That's why in today's newest Naruto Explain video, I wanted to take a look at the growing concerns about the attempted Boruto love triangle, but from a different approach. I don't want to complain about what we're getting here like I've seen others do, nor do I want to explain why this is peak writing per se. But rather, I want to take an honest look at why what Ikimoto is trying to do here is both bold, as well as why it could potentially backfire, despite seeing where he and Kishimoto have potentially taken inspiration from this in regards to the Shinto and samurai story that this appears to have been drawing some inspiration for. Which, to clarify, since I've seen people say, hey, this is a samurai story, so how does it fit into a Naruto story? A story about ninjas, silly Naruto explained. So Sasuke's whole character arc, it was framed around samurai aspects, including the whole reasoning behind restore the Uchiha clan and Sasuke shifting goalposts on why he was doing it. And I'll leave the playlist with that video in the description box for those of you guys who want more information about it. It should be like the third video in that playlist. The same is true for Boruto and Kawaki. While the whole omnipotent storyline very loosely borrows and it twists on from a famous samurai story from hundreds of years ago, it's just a classic example of it. So the budding love triangle in Boruto 2 Vortex, the potential love triangle between Boruto and Sumire and Sarada, it is an ambitious narrative thread, particularly for a sequel to Naruto, a series that, if we're being honest here, it is struggled with romantic subplots. And by struggle, in most cases, it's downright booty cheeks. So here's the breakdown of the significance, the cultural inspirations, and the challenges in the development in terms of what it entails, as well as the comparison to a couple of other series and the risks that Ikimoto faces trying to write something this daunting, because it's not easy. So let's look at why the love triangle is a bold choice for a sequel to Naruto. So Naruto's track record with romance, it is not very good. Naruto is often a series of people say, hey, the female characters are not written very well. Naruto often sidelined romance in favor of action and camaraderie, while relationships like Shikamaru and Tamari or Sasuke and Sakura, they were given enough subtext and subtle interactions where it kind of felt earned. Naruto and Hinata's relationship, it did require Naruto to last the movie in order to establish legitimacy. They barely interact in the manga. By contrast, Boruto is placing emotional complexity and romantic tension in the forefront with Sarada, Sumire, and Boruto, which risks diverting attention from the action, but it also deepens the emotional stakes. Again, it's going to come down to whether or not it's handled correctly. The organic feelings being developed is something I think is being done well. So Sarada's unconscious blush and the confusion at a hint at a slow burn, making her emotions feel natural rather than forced. Her shared trauma with Boruto, it creates a emotional foundation for their bond per se. Sumire's jealousy and frustration, they're grounded in her awareness of her own feelings and her perception of Sarada as being a rival for Boruto, someone that people have said, like in the Every Sign That Sumire and Boruto in Love video, people say, hey, it is a one-sided attraction. Here's the thing, regardless how you feel about that, her reaction to Sarada's public hug with Boruto, it stems from the cultural weight of such gestures in Japan. Hugging in Japanese culture and its implications, they are huge. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you've heard me make this point a couple of times now. In Japanese culture, physical affection, particularly in public, between members of the opposite sex, it is often considered to be private. Sarada hugging Boruto after 3 years, it does carry significant weight. Sarada's intentions are very pure. Sarada's action, it may have been impulsive, it may have been rooted in relief, but it is perceived as being intimate through the eyes of Sumire. This feeds into Sumire's belief that Sarada has feelings for Boruto, even if Sarada herself doesn't yet realize it, which is why she's like, hey, I want to understand you a little better. Sumire's conflict is the next thing. She views Sarada as both a friend and now potentially as a rival, and that's going to complicate her emotions. That's why when we see her, she's an emotional wreck a couple of chapters ago. She feels hurt by Sarada's actions, but is conflicted about voicing this hurt because of their friendship. And for right or for wrong, she gaslit Sarada. It's a messy situation, but love triangles in writing are meant to be messy, even if one side eventually drops out of the race. That's why love triangles are very hard to pull off in battle shonen, because just to be blunt, most male mangaka suck at writing women and they suck at writing romance. Outside of the guy that writes Dan to Dan, there are not too many male mangaka who do a good job at writing these aspects. Balancing romance and action. Battle shonen, they often prioritize action and camaraderie. That's the whole power of friendship, you go best buddy, and personal growth over romantic subplot. It's, as I like to say, battle shonen, we all love it because it's just teenage kids beating each other up, or you get into some of the older series and it's big meaty men slapping meat against each other. Romance, it alienates fans who prefer battles over emotional drama. And so when you do that, a poorly handled love triangle, it's going to come off as contrived and it's going to feel like it's distracting from the main plot, especially if it feels like it is a forced injection of drama. It takes real skill to write something like this. Ikimoto's approach, it is very ambitious. It's something I applaud him for. This is either going to work out very well or it is going to crash and burn. There's no in between here. Ikimoto is attempting to weave in some romance naturally into the overarching narrative without sidelining the action. It's a very balanced approach. The trauma of omnipotence, Boruto's promise to Sasuke, and the complex emotions of this trio, they are rooted in the story's central themes about identity and legacy. That's why I am being very open to what Ikimoto's trying. Because when you understand the core themes of Boruto, you see why this was something needed. Also, when you get into the cultural and the mythological inspirations, it holds even deeper meaning. So in Buddhism and Shinto, the influences are there. In Buddhism, the tension between desire and selflessness, it could inspire Boruto's love triangle when you think about it. So Sarada and Sumire's feelings, they may reflect the struggle between attachment, desire for Boruto, and duty, their shared goal to protect the village, as well as their friendship, the duty to their friendship. It's a balancing act. Naruto fans, I'll put it in a way for you to understand it. It's yin and yang. In Shinto, the idea of spiritual bonds and fate, they may parallel this triangle. In Japanese mythology, gods, they often face conflicts between duty and love. It symbolizes the tension between these forces in human relationships. Also, when you get into samurai stories, it's there as well. Samurai tales often feature emotional restraint and unspoken love, with relationships being forged through shared friendships and enduring hard times together. Boruto and Sarada's bond, if that's the direction that it could go, that could reflect this dynamic, but also it could be used to contrast Sumire's more openly expressed feeling. It's why the love triangle works so well, because there are different aspects of what you're getting here. Just as Sarada and Sumire have different ideas of how to support Boruto. To use a great example of this being done correctly, and I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything like that, so don't feel upset or anything, but you can make a comparison to Inuyasha for something done properly. So the way Inuyasha balanced romance and action was done very well. The Inuyasha, Kikyo, and Kagome love triangle is well executed because it ties directly into the plot itself. Kikyo was a lingering presence as a resurrected priestess. It symbolized Inuyasha's unresolved past, while Kagome represented his present and his future. The love triangle, it heightened the emotional stakes without detracting from the overarching battle narrative. Read the manga if you've only watched the anime, as characters' relationships are intrinsically tied to their growth in the story's resolution. For Boruto, there is a lesson here that you can take from this. A big part of the reason why Inuyasha succeeded is because the love triangle had a natural conclusion that felt extremely earned. Similarly, Boruto must ensure that the love triangle's conclusion and resolution, it complements the broader narrative themes of legacy, trauma, and reconciliation. If you do not do this, then Ikimoto faces several risks. Cliche writing being the biggest one that I see people afraid of, and I agree with you, that is a huge concern. If he goes down that cliche path again, I'll go back to 2018 Naruto Explained, where I am highly critical, because writing romance is very tricky. So with cliche writing, the risk of falling into predictable tropes such as pitting Sarada and Sumire against each other and reducing the characters to romantic interests only for Boruto, this will undermine the series' effort at portraying strong and complex female characters that are written in a very subtle way. The overemphasis on romance could be a pitfall that you fall into as well. While romance does add depth, overemphasizing on it could alienate fans of Boruto's action and adventure and world-building elements, especially if it detracts from the pacing or the stakes of the conflicts that you have with Code and the awakened Shinju, and potentially more Sasuke that could come. However, I'll say this, Ikimoto's execution, when you read it very carefully, it does stand out in my opinion. Could he do some things better? Absolutely. Nobody is above that criticism. And I would venture to say he's well aware of said criticism. There could be a better handling of female emotions, but I think he's done a good job. Ikimoto does give some depth to characters like Sarada, Sumire, and Ada, showcasing conflicting struggles internally and externally. This does contrast Kishimoto's tendency to simplify female motivations, particularly in the realm of romance. The best character that he wrote as a woman was Tsunade, which that was a great job. But even then, a lot of Tsunade's character gets traced back to trauma. But go down the list of Naruto female characters that are written very well, that have meat to their bones, just from the manga. None of the bullshit that the anime gives you. Because as you guys know, I don't care about filler. Just from the manga, there's no meat on the bones for a lot of the female characters. Now, when you get into the integration into the plot, the love triangle, if it is interwoven into the broader narrative, Sarada's hug with Boruto could not only hint at feelings for him, but also serve as a pivotal moment for Boruto's character as he drops his guarded demeanor for the first time here. He hugs her back. He has a soft expression on his face, and there's a return to normalcy as he says, "I'm home now." Do you get another moment like that with Sumire? It remains to be seen. It is possible. In conclusion, I'll say this. Ikimoto's love triangle, it is bold because it ventures into territory that Naruto did struggle while attempting to balance romance with action-centric writing in the series itself. Kishimoto said it himself, so this ain't me dogging on him. He said it himself back when Naruto last was coming out that he sucked at writing romance, he sucked at writing women, and that's the whole reason why there are shoujo writers hired to work on the screenplay for Naruto the Last, because he could not convey those emotions. Classic example being Sakura's confession. I understood what he was going for there, but the broader community did not get it because he executed it poorly, drawing inspiration from Japanese culture, mythology, and successful examples like Inuyasha. That is something that Ikimoto could use to lay a foundation that adds an emotional depth to his characters. However, again, the challenge lies in avoiding cliches and ensuring that the romances enhance rather than detracts from the broader narrative themes of the Boruto story itself. If he can do that, that's going to be the mark of a really great writer.